Hey, welcome back to Fuenteovejuna Act 3, Part 2. We're in the king and the queen's castle, and Flores comes in wounded. And so this is about line 949. And Flores says, King Ferdinand, good Catholic sire, to whom the heavens did concede the crown of proud Castile, in light of all your noble qualities, attend to this account of acts unmatched in cruelty by men throughout the world, from where the sun first rises bright to where it sets. Look, so here we have a dude who has helped in the rape of many, many women, talking about how unjust life is since he is mortally wounded. And Ferdinand, the king, says, "Come, steady now, man. Sovereign king, the wounds you see," because he's all wounded, right, "would not consent to my delaying this report, for this life surely nears its end." He's about to die. In Fuenteovejuna, sire, that farming town from which I fled, the people with inclement breast have put their rightful lord to death. So even as he's dying, he is defending the person who employed him. This is what I would call a real whore. Flores is a whore. He has no regret. What he's going to do is try to have the king attack the town. Hernan Gomez lies murdered there, a victim of the grievances those traitorous vassals claim to bear, for those aggrieved scarce need pretext, thus dubbing him tyrannical. By full consensus, these vile plebes became emboldened over time to carry out this treachery. They stormed through the commander's home, and although he was a nobleman, did not provide him with a chance to quit these debts and make amends. Wah, wah, wah. Not only were his pleas ignored, but spurred by their impulsiveness, the villagers left him with wounds that even rent the cross worn on his chest. And then they hurled him out a window down into a furious awaiting horde. So the commander gets wounded grievously, mortally, and the townspeople throw him out of a window into the awaiting horde of women, a horde of women, oh my God, who proceeded to impale him on their pikes and swords. They dragged his body to a house, and each, displaying greater rage, began to pluck his hair and beard while cruelly slicing up his face. So he's still alive, and the women of the town come in and stab him, rip his beard out. And a beard in Spanish culture and in Western culture, if you pluck the beard, you're questioning the manhood of a person. So outside did their fury seem, and fierce their mounting hate appear. The largest pieces left intact on the commander were his ears. So they only left him with his ears, because they cut up his face, they pulled his hair out, and pulled his beard out. Expunging next his coat of arms, they shouted they wished instead to march beneath your own cause. The former caused them great offense. Then, the former meaning the commander, caused them great offense. Then lastly, they ransacked his home. Can you imagine that? You overthrow a tyrant, and you go through and you pillage, right? As if it were some enemies, and happily among themselves, they divided up his property. All this I saw with my two eyes, for infelicitously fate would not consent that I should die while lying. Where was he lying after being wounded? In my hiding place, my wounds fresh, waiting out the day in hope the dark of night would come, so I could steal away unseen and tell you what the town had done. Your merciful and just good sire, see These wanton criminals are punished by your code of law for acts so reprehensible. Oh, hear his spilt blood crying out, and make them pay harsh recompense. So, he's loyal to his employer to the end. How did that interview go for you? Can you imagine that? Hey honey, how was your job today? Well, I got executed for the evil that my boss has done and that I have done for my boss. And Ferdinand doesn't know him. He thinks there's an uprising, so he calls him a brave fellow. Rest assured, they won't escape our punishment. But he couches this with, he needs to verify the deeds so that he can punish the guilty, the culpable. Then the scene changes and we go back to Fuenteovejuna. And the musicians are playing once again the wedding song, Oh, many happy years, except for in this case, to you good Catholic kings, and death to tyrants all. And then once again, Frondoso is, trying to write some poetry. And so here he says, however, here goes, however freshly penned, let quibblers with my meter mend, the verse the best way they know how. And here is his song, long live our lovely Isabel and Ferdinand of Aragon, whose union is a paragon, and who, though two are one as well, St. Michael take you both to dwell in heaven when you hear God's call. Long life to you we wish, but once again, death to tyrants all. And Laurencia, who has been in charge of this insurrection, says, your turn, Barrildo. And Barrildo says, here goes mine. Oh, many happy years to you, famed monarchs, fresh from victory. From this day forward you shall be our lords, who bring us luck anew. May evil dwarves and giants too succumb before your battle call, and deaths to tyrants all. And death to tyrants all. Laurencia, directing everybody, says, now Mingo, you sing. And he sings, 'Twas on a lovely Sunday morning, when I, on orders of this here, was whipped until my aching rear writhed frightfully, its soft skin torn, I bearing what hence won't be borne. Long live our Christian monarchers, and death to all these tyranters. And the musicians join in. Oh, many happy years. And Esteban looks over at the commander's head and says, remove his noggin from that lance. Mingo says, his face is all a hanged man's charms. And if you go over to line 2080, Esteban says, long live Leon, Castile live on, and prosper bars of Aragon. Because you had one of the Catholic kings was from Aragon, the other from Castile. But death to tyrants and their sway. And Esteban knows that the Catholic kings are going to send investigators down, and so now there needs to be a plan. And the plan is by Esteban, whenever you're interrogated, say it was Fuenteovejuna's crime. And that is so that people won't be taken off to die. And Frondoso says, by us then all must be agreed, it is Fuenteovejuna's deed, and all the townspeople will say, yes. That way they can protect each other. And then we have a rehearsal of the kind of testimony that they will get while being interrogated. And this is back during the Inquisition, where people were horrifically tormented and violated when they were under oath, in the name of God, of course. So here we have the first rehearsal. And Esteban, the leader of the town, chooses Mengo as his first rehearsal person for an inquisition. Okay, and Esteban says, let's have Mengo be the first upon the rack. And the rack was a contraption that actually pulled people's bodies apart. And Mengo says, you couldn't choose a frailer guy? I'll only use you to rehearse. And Mengo says, then do your worst. Who killed the town's commander, you? All of Fuenteovejuna, sir. Don't make me torture you, you vile dog. Kill me and it would still be true. Confess, thief. I do as I'm told so. Fuenteovejuna. And Esteban, in this mock inquiry, says, pull tight, meaning stretch him some more. It's nothing I can't bear. And Esteban says, we'll fill up any trial they hold. And Cuadrado comes in, and we have some more, and the investigators arrive, and we have Mengo saying in verse 24, who? Fuenteovejuna did. And then we go back to the little boy who is in charge of the order of Calatrava, and he is all about covering himself because he wants to remain in power. Now let's go over to lines 2163. And Laurencia is alone, and she says, true loves. So, once again, Lope is going back to the idea of what true love is. True love's concern for its beloved's good becomes thereafter love's appended pain, for fear harm may befall love as a bane that brings concern as all new worries would. The watchful thought decrease this likelihood, the mind perturbed will readily show strain, as love's well-being stolen roils the brain. A torment no wise easily withstood. I do adore my husband, and this dire occasion will condemn me to duress. Should misfortune fail to favor him on high, his happiness is all that I desire. So for Laurencia, true love means that the person you're in love with, you want their happiness. When he is present, sure is my distress. When he's absent, just as sure I die. And her groom, her soon-to-be husband, enters. Laurencia, love, sweet husband here. This move displays a steely nerve. You're really brave to be showing your face around here, because she knows that Frondoso will be examined. Does such solicitude deserve this cold reception from you, dear? I beg you, darling mine, beware, for here you'll meet a ghastly end. And Frondoso reassures her, Laurencia, may the skies forfend that my well-being should cause you care. Well, she says, aren't you afraid to view the throes your townsmen face in their ordeal, or the investigators' zeal in hastening to inflict their woes? Stay out of harm's way while you can, and flee before you capture you. And Frondoso says, what are you talking about? How could you expect me to do deeds that are unworthy of a man? Frondoso says, I will take the responsibility. I am not running away like the commander did. Because if he did that, he wouldn't acknowledge his own soul. So then we hear off stage, the judge is interrogating the villagers. And the judge says in line 2203, the truth, and you'll be spared. You'll be freed, kind gent. And Frondoso says, that's off stage. And Frondoso says, they torture an old man to make him speak. And Laurencia says, he's too strong-willed to break. And her father says, pray, loose the ropes a bit. And the judge, as he's interrogating him, relent. Who killed Fernan, good man? And Esteban says, give Fuenteovejuna buen. And Laurencia, brave father, may God praise your name. And Frondoso is hearing this man being tortured and says, what courage. He just says, grab that boy there, wretch, lay on, still tighter. Cur, meaning dog. Yes, I'm convinced you know who did this crime. No answer. Stretch him. Stretch. And the boy says, so this is a little boy. Fuenteovejuna did. And the judge, dumb clods, by all the king's commands, I'll strangle you with my own hands. Who murdered the commander, kid? And Frondoso says, to think a tender lad could face such torment and resist so long. Laurencia praising what the village has done. Brave villagers. And Frondoso says, yes, brave and strong. And the judge, you seize that woman there and place her body next on the rack. Now will be the maiden's turn. And Laurencia comments, his anger is causing him to burn. Because the judge wants to get to the bottom of it, right? You'll tell me or I'll kill the pack of you right here if he's not caught. Which one is the guilty villager? And Pascual says, Fuenteovejuna, sir. Pull it tighter, says the judge. And Frondoso is commenting, this is all for naught. Laurencia says, Pascual hasn't said a thing. Frondoso, the children either, so they're interrogating children. What's to fear? And the judge, have you bewitched the town folk here? Pull some more. So, of course, you immediately go to the idea that since she's suffering, Pascuala is suffering, that she must be a witch. And Pascuala says, heaven, going up, heaven, ease my suffering. Are you deaf? I told you, pull. And Pascuala says, still, Fuenteovejuna. Yes, that fat, old, clad in tattered dress is the next one whose paunch looks full. And it's Mingo, of course, who's already been brutalized. And Frondoso is worried that Mingo might actually blame somebody. Though no one's broken yet, he might. And Mingo, ow, ow. And the judge says, just slowly stretch him tight. Ow! This should jog your memory. Ow! Ow! Come, Bumpkin, out with it. Who laid the town's commander low? Who killed the commander? Please stop, I'll tell you all I know. You, let up the ropes a bit. And Frondoso is thinking, he's breaking. He's going to confess, right? And the judge says, use your back until the lever halts. And he goes, I'll tell you when you stop. All right, who slew him? Old Fuenteovejuna. And the judge is disgusted. I've never seen such villainy. They make a mockery of pain. The one I thought could least refrain from talking held it valiantly. I'm weary. Come, let us depart. So the judge is tired of torturing people for the truth, even though this is the truth. It is the town that killed the commander. And Frondoso tells Mingo, May God keep you near. Your courage has dispelled the fear I felt for us both in my heart. And here it's a time of celebration. 3 cheers there, Mango, says Barrildo. And Cuadrado says, yes, my word. And 1 more cheer. That was some feat. And Mango, ow, or oh, because he's been tortured. Here, my friend, have a bit to eat and drink. What is it? It's lemon curd. Oh, there you go, man. Drain the cup. And he does. And Barrildo says, I knew you could. Frondoso, he's swilling, so it must be good. Now there's more food here while he's drinking up. And Mango, who is still hurt, says, oh, oh. And Barrildo, this round is my treat too. And Laurencia, he's stately as he knocks them back. So, Mango is getting drunk right now, right? And they're supplying him with it. Why? Because they're in his debt. And they're trying to thank him for saving them. And Frondoso says, well, it's easier when you're off the rack. Would you like more? Barrildo says, oh, as long as it's on you. Frondoso, drink up, old friend. Lord knows you've grounds. This makes 1 quaff per turn, all told. So everybody has bought him drinks. Bring him some clothes. He must be cold. Because they've stripped him bare, right? And Barrildo asks him, more still? Oh, maybe 3 more rounds. Okay. So then we have Laurencia and Frondoso by themselves on stage. And Frondoso says he's honored by our show of love, but could you please inform me, wife, who took the town commander's life? And Laurencia says, Fuenteovejuna, dove. Who killed him? Stop, you're scaring me. Fuenteovejuna, churl. And how did I slay you, sweet girl? And Laurencia says, because you loved me so tenderly. So then we go back into the king and queen's chambers, and we're going to have a little show up from the master of Calatrava. And of course he's going to be all, even though he's waged war against them, you're the greatest, you're the best, blah, 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 blah. And the master of Calatrava, this young man, says to the king and queen in line 23, 51, I'd show them, were you not here, sire, what doom awaits those who conspire to kill commanders of the crown. And King Ferdinand says, their punishments rest with the throne. And Isabel says, I do confess, I'd love to see my lord will his authority, should it please God this power be shown. And the judge comes back in and says, I rode, sire, with due diligence to Fuenteovejuna, so he's going to give us exposition and catch the king and queen up. Attending to my charge with care, I acted with expedience, investigating how this crime was carried out before I'd come, but bear no signed confession from a soul there after all this time. The townsfolk spoke as one. Okay, so the townsfolk spoke as one. With stout conviction for their common good, and when I'd ask who did this, would shout, Fuenteovejuna, out. 300 villagers there swore that they knew nothing through their pain. So 300 people have been tortured, and all of them just kept saying, Fuenteovejuna lo hizo. Fuenteovejuna did it. And I despair we'll ever gain more information on that score. We even lashed lads 10 years old upon the rack who held their peace despite our promises to cease and other such things they were told. In short, I've started so to frown on finding someone to condemn that either you must pardon them or else eradicate the town. So we have no evidence, so it's either kill them all or give them a pardon. And Ferdinand says, then let them come before the throne. And Esteban, the village leader, Alonso, Frondoso, Laurencia, the village women, and many more villagers come in. And Laurencia says, are those the monarchs there? And Frondoso says, Castile's own might, however far. My God, what handsome beings they are. Saint Anthony exalt the pair. And this is Lope knowing that he is on the edge when you write a play that advocates overthrowing people who are appointed by royal authority. He's balancing. So you praise the kings in the past and condemn the horrors in the present. Because why? Lope, when he writes this, even though he sets it in the past, he is governed by royalty. And Isabel says, are these the murderers you mean? And his statement says, amassed before you at a stroke stand Fuenteovejuna's folk, who humbly wish to serve their queen. It was the tyranny and cursed insistence on purveying dread of that commander who's now dead. But now before he's done his worst, that was behind our vengeful role. He had our scant possessions seized, raped our women when he pleased, all mercy alien to his soul. The commander was bereft of any mercy and was just a predator. And Fernando says, so much so that when finally this lovely lass the heavens sent to make my heart on earth content, and me as happy as can be, agreed to take me as her spouse, the commander, he acted as if he'd been wived, and when our wedding night arrived, abducted her to his house. Were that pure girl not prone to fend off the advances he'd begun, I think it's clear to everyone, her virtue would have met its end. Okay, so Frondoso is talking about the bravery of Laurencia. And Mingo says, is it not time I said a word? If by your leave I may say so, you will all be scandalized to know how bruised I was by what incurred for rushing straight to the defense of one of our poor village girls as she was being snatched by trolls to undergo some vile offense. My sorry derriere, so my ass still aches from that perverted Nero's lash, and darn if they didn't thrash my backside pink as salmon steaks. 3 men administered the belts, the whips, so utterly, unsparingly, that I'm convinced you still can see the stripes they left beneath the welts. All told, the ointment and the salve concocted from the myrtle shrub, which I use as a soothing rub, are worth more than the farm I have. I was beaten so badly that I've had to spend the worth of my own land on medicine. And Esteban says, in short, sire, we do gladly serve as humble vassals of the crown, and have long since hung in our town your coat of arms, which all observe. So all of us are faithful to your authority. We ask, my lord, that you respond with clemency, with clement mercy in this case, to recompense this act of grace. We pledge our innocence as bond. And the King of Spain says, as it appears that at no time there'll be confessions signed in ink, though murder is most foul, we think to grant forgiveness for this crime. It's well the village should repair to the protection of Castile, and may depend on us until we send a new commander there. So, I will send somebody else to rule in this region. And Frondoso says, this speech, your majesty, commends the measure of your providence. So with these words, wise audience, here, Fuenteovejuna ends, meaning the play itself. So what we have here is an insurrection against a tyrant, a tyrannical leader, that ends up being endorsed by the highest power, the King and Queen of Spain. And that, my friends, is Fuenteovejuna, a play about justice, a play about exploitation, a play about horrific leadership, a play about making people who think they're above the law or that they are the law actually pay for their actions. A play about hope and liberation. Think about our own revolution. And the king in England wasn't sending his soldiers to rape everybody here. And our country stood up to that divine power, the divine right of a king. Thank you.